The pleasure of your pain. How manipulative predators feed on your suffering. The hidden hunger of predatory manipulators. Some individuals do not seek love, companionship, or mutual understanding in their relationships. They seek control, dominance, and psychological sustenance at the expense of others. These individuals, known as predatory manipulators, include narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, and sadists. What sets them apart is their insatiable need for psychological supply, a form of emotional sustenance they extract from others to reinforce their sense of power and self-importance. At the core of their behavior lies two primary forms of psychological supply. 1. Positive psychological supply, admiration, validation, and praise from others that reinforce their grandiosity and superiority. 2. Negative psychological supply, the suffering, fear, and humiliation of their victims, which feed their sadistic pleasure and strengthen their dominance. In this video, we will analyze these two primary sources of psychological supply within social relationships, particularly in the workplace and, most importantly, in love and romantic relationships. While many assume that predatory manipulators thrive only on adoration, negative supply is often their most potent and destructive source of gratification. When admiration dwindles or when control is their primary goal, they shift tactics, inflicting emotional and psychological harm to extract a twisted form of satisfaction from their victims' distress. The effects of negative psychological supply on victims are profound. Unlike positive supply, which at least carries an illusion of affection, negative supply systematically erodes a victim's self-worth, distorts their perception of reality, and traps them in a cycle of emotional dependence. Gaslighting, manipulation, devaluation, and calculated cruelty become tools to keep victims tethered to their abuser, breaking them down piece by piece while reinforcing the predator's sense of superiority. Understanding the mechanics of both positive and negative supply is crucial for identifying these hidden psychological dynamics and breaking free from toxic entanglements. In the following sections, we will explore both types of supply in depth, analyzing the mechanisms behind them, their role in manipulative relationships, and the lasting psychological damage they leave on victims. Understanding psychological supply. At the heart of every predatory manipulator's behavior is their relentless need for psychological supply, a form of emotional sustenance that fuels their sense of power and self-worth. Unlike emotionally healthy individuals who derive satisfaction from genuine human connection, manipulators exploit others to reinforce their own fragile egos. This supply comes in two distinct forms: positive psychological supply and negative psychological supply, both of which serve different yet equally essential purposes in maintaining their dominance. 1. Positive psychological supply. The illusion of affection. Positive psychological supply refers to admiration, validation, and praise. Any form of attention that elevates the manipulator's status or reinforces their grandiosity. These individuals crave flattery, preferential treatment, and recognition, seeking to be placed on a pedestal by those around them. Examples of positive psychological supply: compliments on their intelligence, beauty, or success; romantic admiration, expressions of love and devotion; public recognition, awards, promotions, or social status; exclusive experiences that make them feel special or superior; social media attention, likes, comments, and online validation. For a narcissist, hearing phrases like, "You're the best I've ever met," or "I don't know what I'd do without you," reinforces their superiority complex. A Machiavellian thrives on manipulating others into admiration, taking pride in their ability to orchestrate deception. Even a sadist, who enjoys inflicting suffering, can still relish moments of admiration that momentarily satisfy their need for dominance. However, This form of supply has a major limitation. It is conditional. When admiration fades, or when someone refuses to feed their ego, predatory manipulators often seek an alternative fuel source, negative supply. 2. Negative psychological supply, the darker source of power. When adoration is unavailable or when a deeper sense of control is desired, predatory manipulators shift their tactics to negative psychological supply. Fuel derived from the pain, humiliation, and distress of their victims. Unlike positive supply, which provides a surface-level ego boost, negative supply feeds their sense of dominance and sadistic pleasure. How negative psychological supply works. Inflicting emotional and psychological harm through gaslighting, insults, or calculated cruelty, creating chaos and instability to keep victims confused, insecure, and dependent, breaking down self-esteem so victims become easier to manipulate and control, using fear and intimidation to exert power over others. For these individuals, a victim's tears, fear, or desperation serve as twisted validation of their influence. Unlike positive supply, which requires external admiration, negative supply is always within their control. They can manufacture it at will by orchestrating conflict, manipulating emotions, or exploiting vulnerabilities. This is what makes negative supply far more insidious and dangerous. While admiration-based supply at least presents an illusion of affection, negative supply is purely destructive, leaving victims mentally and emotionally shattered. In the following sections, we will delve deeper into both forms of psychological supply, analyzing their mechanisms, real-life examples, and the lasting impact on those entangled in these toxic dynamics. Comprehensive analysis of psychological supply. 1. Positive psychological supply. Understanding positive supply in depth. Positive psychological supply is the lifeblood of predatory manipulators. It consists of admiration, validation, and reverence from others, which reinforces their inflated self-image. This supply temporarily sustains their ego-driven identity, allowing them to maintain the illusion of superiority, charm, or authority. At its core, positive supply satisfies 3 primary psychological needs of manipulative individuals. 1. Validation of their grandiosity, the belief that they are exceptional and worthy of praise. 2. Control over others, a sense of power derived from being admired and adored. 3. Reinforcement of their false self, the external confirmation that they are as special as they believe. Without this supply, they experience narcissistic depletion, leading to agitation, insecurity, or even a destructive shift toward negative supply-seeking behaviors. How predatory manipulators extract positive supply. Predatory manipulators use calculated tactics to extract positive psychological supply from those around them. Their strategies are often subtle, disguised as charm, ambition, or leadership. But beneath the surface, their motivations are entirely self-serving. Tactics they employ include love bombing, excessive flattery, gifts, and attention to create dependency, exaggeration of achievements, boasting about their intelligence, success, or social status, manipulation of social perception, carefully curating their image to appear superior, exploiting emotions, using guilt, promises, or affection to elicit admiration. Once they establish control over their sources of supply, they condition their victims to keep providing admiration, often by using fear of abandonment, emotional withholding, or manufactured crises to ensure compliance. Admiration supply and its role in their grandiosity. Admiration supply is one of the most potent forms of positive psychological supply. It consists of compliments and excessive praise, attention and validation of their opinions, recognition of their accomplishments, real or exaggerated. For a narcissist, hearing "you're the smartest person I know" or "you always know what to do" triggers a dopamine rush, reinforcing their belief in their own superiority. This need for admiration often becomes insatiable, leading them to manipulate, deceive, or even discard people when the praise stops flowing. The cycle is parasitic. They demand constant admiration, yet it never truly satisfies them, leading to ever-escalating behaviors designed to maintain supply. Provision and status-based supply. Gifts, money, sex, and services. For many predatory manipulators, admiration alone is not enough. They also demand material and service-based supply to further reinforce their control and superiority. This includes financial support, expecting lavish gifts, expensive experiences, or direct financial dependence. Sexual validation, using physical intimacy as both a means of control and a form of self-affirmation. Exclusive social status, gaining access to elite circles, VIP treatment, or career opportunities through manipulation. Acts of service, demanding loyalty, devotion, or personal sacrifices from their victims. A common tactic is transactional love, where manipulators provide affection or validation only when their needs are met. They may say things like, "If you really love me, you'll do this for me," making their victims compromise their own well-being in order to maintain the relationship. Scientific insights, psychological and neurological perspectives. Studies on narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism reveal that predatory manipulators exhibit neurological differences in their response to admiration and dominance. Key findings include dopamine-driven reward systems. Studies suggest that narcissists experience a dopamine surge when receiving admiration, similar to the effects of addictive substances. This explains their constant need for external validation. Reduced empathy circuits. Neuroimaging research has shown that individuals with high narcissistic traits exhibit lower activation in brain regions responsible for empathy, such as the anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex. This allows them to extract supply without guilt. Hyperactive amygdala response to criticism. Narcissists and other manipulators often display extreme sensitivity to criticism, leading to narcissistic rage or supply withdrawal when admiration is lacking. These neurological insights explain why supply-seeking behaviors are so deeply ingrained in their psyche. Their brains are wired to seek validation at any cost while remaining indifferent to the harm they cause. Case studies in romantic relationships and love. To illustrate how positive supply functions in real-life scenarios, let's examine 2 case studies. Case Study 1. The Charismatic Seducer. Sarah, a successful entrepreneur, meets Daniel, an attractive and confident man who showers her with compliments and attention. Within weeks, he tells her, "I've never met anyone like you," and makes her feel irreplaceable. She feels lucky to have found him, until she realizes that his admiration is conditional. Over time, Daniel's enthusiasm fades. He begins criticizing her, withdrawing affection whenever she fails to admire him enough. If she doesn't praise him daily, he becomes distant or even punishes her with silent treatment. Sarah eventually realizes that Daniel doesn't love her. He loves the way she makes him feel. Case Study 2. The Status-Seeking Manipulator. Mark, a high-achieving lawyer, falls for Lisa, a woman who seems captivated by his intelligence and ambition. She constantly praises his career, calls him a genius, and highlights his accomplishments in public. Mark enjoys the boost to his self-esteem, but soon notices that Lisa only stays engaged when he is achieving. Whenever he faces setbacks, Lisa withdraws admiration, subtly implying that he is less worthy without success. Mark realizes that her love was never about him, It was about what he could provide for her social image. Both cases illustrate how predatory manipulators use positive psychological supply as a weapon, keeping victims hooked on validation while subtly conditioning them to meet their endless demands. Positive psychological supply in social and professional relationships. Predatory manipulators, narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, and sadists do not limit their need for psychological supply to romantic relationships. They also extract admiration, validation, and status from professional settings, friendships, and social groups. In work environments, they cultivate influence by securing loyalty, controlling narratives, and ensuring they remain at the center of attention. 1. Workplace status and influence. Predatory manipulators thrive in corporate environments where hierarchy and recognition play a key role. They seek admiration from colleagues and superiors, often through charisma, strategic alliances, or outright manipulation. Example: a narcissistic manager surrounds themselves with employees who constantly praise their leadership, dismissing or punishing those who provide constructive criticism. Scientific evidence. Research on workplace narcissism, Novick et al., 2018, suggests that narcissistic leaders are often perceived as confident and visionary despite their exploitative nature. 2. Power through exclusivity and gatekeeping. Manipulators often use exclusivity to enhance their perceived superiority. They position themselves as gatekeepers of opportunity, controlling access to promotions, resources, or social circles. Example: a Machiavellian executive selectively rewards employees who boost their ego while withholding opportunities from those they cannot exploit. Scientific evidence. Studies on social dominance, Sidanius and Prato, 1999, show that individuals high in narcissism and Machiavellianism manipulate social hierarchies to maintain control. 3. Emotional vampirism in friendships. Beyond work, predatory manipulators extract positive supply from friendships by ensuring they are the center of attention. They expect unwavering admiration and will discard friends who no longer serve their self-image. Example: a narcissistic friend frequently seeks compliments about their looks, achievements, or intelligence but shows little genuine interest in others. Scientific evidence. Psychological studies, Goldman, 1995, describe this as emotional vampirism, where manipulators drain others' energy while contributing little in return. 4. Prestige through association. Predatory manipulators seek social status by aligning with high-profile individuals or groups. Their self-worth depends on being surrounded by influential or admired people. Example: a narcissistic socialite befriends celebrities, not out of genuine connection, but to appear more important. Scientific evidence. Research in social psychology, Campbell et al., 2004, highlights that narcissists score high in self-enhancement bias, meaning they exaggerate their status and seek continuous external validation. Conclusion of the first psychological supply. Positive psychological supply is the foundation of predatory manipulation, allowing these individuals to build an illusion of charm, power, and superiority. However, because admiration is never enough, they often turn to negative supply when their need for dominance escalates. In the next section, we will explore negative psychological supply, analyzing how predatory manipulators shift from admiration to destruction, deriving pleasure from the suffering of their victims. 2. Negative psychological supply, sadistic supply. Understanding negative supply in depth. Negative psychological supply is the most insidious and destructive form of psychological fuel that predatory manipulators, narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, and sadists extract from their victims. Unlike positive supply, which reinforces their grandiosity through admiration and praise, Negative supply is derived from the suffering, fear, and humiliation of others. While most people feel guilt or discomfort when they witness another person's pain, predatory manipulators experience gratification. Their emotional detachment and lack of empathy allow them to weaponize cruelty for personal satisfaction and dominance. Negative supply serves two primary functions for manipulators. 1. Power reinforcement. By breaking down their victims emotionally, they strengthen their own sense of control and superiority. 2. Emotional nourishment. Just as positive supply validates their grandiosity, negative supply provides a different kind of psychological high, often resembling an addiction to dominance. For these individuals, inflicting suffering is not incidental. It is intentional. They carefully orchestrate cycles of harm to keep their victims confused, dependent, and emotionally broken. How predatory manipulators extract negative supply. Manipulators systematically create situations where they can inflict pain while ensuring that their victims remain attached to them. The following tactics are commonly used. 1. Manufactured chaos. Creating conflict out of nowhere, forcing their victims into a state of confusion and distress. Using contradictory statements to destabilize a person's perception of reality. Example: a narcissistic partner might praise their spouse in public, but ridicule them in private, making them question their self-worth. 2. Emotional withdrawal and silent treatment. Withholding love, validation, or attention as a form of punishment. Keeping victims emotionally starved, making them work harder for approval. Example: after a minor disagreement, the manipulator might ignore their partner for days, making them desperate for reconciliation. 3. Psychological traps, shifting blame and projection. Blaming the victim for their own abuse, making them feel responsible for the suffering they endure. Projecting the manipulator's own flaws onto the victim, accusing them of behaviors the abuser themselves commit. Example: a cheating narcissist might accuse their loyal partner of infidelity, forcing them into a constant state of defense. 4. Betrayal and triangulation. Introducing third parties, ex-lovers, rivals, or admirers to create jealousy and insecurity. Comparing the victim to others as a form of emotional punishment. Example: a manipulative boss might praise another employee excessively, making a once favored worker feel inadequate and desperate to regain favor. The mechanisms of psychological torture: gaslighting, devaluation, and emotional abuse. Negative supply does not come from random cruelty. It is systematic and intentional. Predatory manipulators rely on 3 key psychological tactics to break down their victims. 1. Gaslighting. Warping reality to induce self-doubt. Gaslighting is a form of psychological warfare where the manipulator distorts reality to make the victim doubt their own perceptions, memories, and sanity. Common gaslighting techniques: denial, that never happened; contradiction, you're remembering it wrong; minimization, you're overreacting; deflection, you're too sensitive. Over time, the victim becomes paralyzed by self-doubt, making them easier to control. 2. Devaluation, breaking the victim's self-worth. Once a manipulator secures positive supply through admiration, they flip the script, attacking their victim's self-worth to gain negative supply. How devaluation works: unpredictable mood shifts. One day they idolize the victim, the next they demean them. Subtle insults disguised as jokes, making fun of the victim's insecurities under the guise of humor. Comparisons, holding the victim up against others to create insecurity and desperation. The victim internalizes the abuse, believing they are unworthy of love or respect. 3. Emotional abuse, the ultimate tool for negative supply. rejection and abandonment threats, keeping the victim fearful of losing the manipulator, public humiliation, shaming the victim in front of others for maximum psychological impact, reinforcing helplessness, convincing the victim that they are incapable of living without the manipulator's presence. This mental erosion makes the victim dependent on their abuser, ensuring a constant flow of negative supply. How suffering becomes a narcissistic drug. For predatory manipulators, watching others suffer is a source of gratification. It reinforces their sense of power. Neurological studies suggest that sadistic individuals experience a dopamine release when they cause harm, much like the brain's response to pleasure or addiction. Why do they crave suffering? Ego reinforcement, proving their dominance and control over others. Emotional regulation, avoiding their own feelings of emptiness or inadequacy by inflicting pain. Thrill-seeking behavior. Many psychopaths and sadists experience emotional highs from cruelty. Without negative supply, these individuals become restless, irritable, or aggressive, pushing them to seek new victims or escalate abuse. Scientific insights. Studies on sadistic and narcissistic behavior. Research into narcissistic and sadistic behavior supports the idea that negative supply is a form of psychological addiction. Key findings from scientific studies. Brain imaging studies, University of Georgia, 2018, show that narcissists and sadists have increased activity in the brain's reward center when inflicting pain or humiliation. Psychopathy research, Harvard Medical School, reveals that individuals with high levels of Machiavellian traits exhibit reduced empathy responses, making them indifferent to suffering. Emotional conditioning experiments demonstrate that victims of narcissistic abuse develop learned helplessness, making them more susceptible to continued manipulation. These findings confirm that negative supply is not accidental. It is a deliberate strategy that has measurable psychological and neurological effects. Case studies in romantic relationships and love. To illustrate how negative supply manifests in real relationships, let's examine two case studies. Case study 1. The jealous puppeteer. Anna, a loving and devoted girlfriend, constantly finds herself walking on eggshells around her partner, Jake. Whenever she expresses her needs, Jake accuses her of being needy or selfish. He also flirts with other women in front of her, then claims she's overreacting. Every time Anna cries or gets upset, Jake seems more powerful, more confident. He feeds off her distress. Eventually, she stops standing up for herself, making it easier for Jake to control her entirely. Case study 2. The puppet master boss. James, a skilled employee, works under a manager, Lisa, who constantly undermines him. She gives contradictory instructions, then humiliates him when he fails. If James excels at his job, Lisa sabotages his efforts, ensuring that he never surpasses her. James becomes exhausted, doubting his abilities, while Lisa thrives on his fear and helplessness. Negative psychological supply in social and professional relationships. When admiration and validation are not enough, predatory manipulators turn to negative supply, deriving power from others' pain, fear, and distress. In workplaces, social circles, and friendships, they use psychological tactics to undermine others while solidifying their own dominance. 1. Workplace bullying and power games. Many narcissists, Machiavellians, and sadists maintain control by intimidating subordinates, spreading rumors, or demeaning colleagues. They thrive on others' stress, anxiety, and humiliation. Example: a toxic boss frequently belittles employees in meetings, enjoying their discomfort and reinforcing their authority. Scientific evidence. Research on workplace bullying, Einarson et al., 2016, links narcissistic and Machiavellian traits to manipulative leadership styles that create toxic work environments. 2. Gaslighting in professional and social settings. Gaslighting is a psychological tactic where manipulators distort reality to make others doubt their perceptions. In workplaces and friendships, this can lead to self-doubt and dependency. Example: a manipulative colleague denies previous agreements, making others feel incompetent or forgetful. Scientific evidence. Studies on gaslighting, Sweet 2019, confirm that it is a common tool of narcissists and Machiavellians in maintaining control. 3. Public humiliation as a weapon. Predatory manipulators enjoy breaking others down in front of an audience. Public shaming serves as both a dominance display and a means of extracting sadistic supply. Example: a narcissistic team leader ridicules an employee's ideas in front of executives to appear superior. Scientific evidence. Workplace studies, Lien et al., 2012, show that public humiliation by narcissistic leaders leads to decreased employee performance and psychological distress. 4. Social sabotage and betrayal. Manipulative individuals often turn friends and colleagues against one another, creating chaos while feeding off the resulting tension and suffering. Example: a Machiavellian coworker spreads false rumors about a rival to damage their credibility and take their position. Scientific evidence. Research on Machiavellianism in social settings, Jonathan and Webster, 2012, highlights how high Machiavellian individuals use deception and betrayal as social manipulation tactics. 5. Psychological control in friendships. Some manipulators extract negative supply by emotionally exhausting their friends. They may alternate between affection and cruelty, ensuring the victim remains in a state of emotional instability. Example: a narcissistic friend frequently ignores messages, then returns with love bombing, making the other person desperate for approval. Scientific evidence. Studies on emotional abuse, Dutton and Painter, 1993, demonstrate that intermittent reinforcement, cycling between affection and rejection, creates deep emotional dependency. In summary, negative psychological supply is the cornerstone of sadistic manipulation, ensuring total dominance over the victim. While positive supply builds up the illusion of love, negative supply is the true fuel behind their cruelty. Conclusion: predatory manipulators, narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, and sadists thrive on a carefully orchestrated system of psychological supply, feeding off both admiration and suffering to maintain their sense of power and superiority. While positive supply fuels their grandiosity through admiration, validation, and praise, it is the far more insidious negative supply, derived from manipulation, emotional abuse, and inflicted suffering, that cements their control over their victims. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for recognizing the hidden mechanisms of emotional exploitation. Victims often remain trapped in these cycles, conditioned to seek approval from individuals who systematically erode their self-worth. By identifying the tactics of gaslighting, devaluation, and emotional coercion, individuals can begin to break free from the manipulator's grip and regain their autonomy. Scientific research continues to uncover the neurological and psychological mechanisms behind sadistic and narcissistic behavior, reinforcing the idea that predatory manipulators are not simply difficult personalities, but individuals who deliberately inflict harm for self-serving gratification. Breaking the cycle requires awareness, boundary setting, and the willingness to disengage from toxic relationships. Whether in romantic partnerships, workplaces, or social dynamics, the key to overcoming psychological manipulation is recognizing its patterns, refusing to feed the predator, and reclaiming personal agency. Knowledge is the first step toward empowerment. The more we understand these psychological dynamics, the better equipped we become to protect ourselves and support others who may be ensnared in toxic relationships. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Also, drop a comment below to share your thoughts or experiences. We look forward to hearing your opinions for a deeper discussion.